This is the Giraffes Don't Eat Steak podcast, a show that brings you marketing stories, tips, hints, and much more. A treat for those who want to succeed in business or marketers who just want to learn. Hello, Alex.
Hello, how's it going?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Very well. Just settling into my new apartment.
Brilliant.
All good. And I heard on the grapevine that you got some new shoes, but they're now been eaten by a dog.
Yes, sadly, they managed to open the cupboard. They really are smart dogs and eat a pair of leather shoes that I really, really liked, which now I no longer have.
That reminds me of, have you seen the old movie Beethoven?
Yes.
And the scene where the dog is like slobbering over the boots, and the dad in the morning is like getting ready for work, and he just lifts up his boot, and it just like drips out of dog saliva. That's the image I have in my mind now of your brand new leather shoes.
Yeah, not a lot of saliva, but they chewed through the straps and ate the heel off and yeah, basically had a little dog party. Uh, we've we've got a saying now for what they do. They go shopping. So when they enter a room, they basically look around for what they can chew, whether it's laptop cables or they love paper and tissues. And so they got hold of my doctor's report from the last time. I don't know where they found it, where they find these things. And then they just eat it. And so they go shopping. So you need to, and
Well,
we can tell, we can look, we go, oh, they're busy going shopping.
it sounds like your kids now have the perfect excuse for not doing their homework
Uh,
because
that-
the dog probably did eat it.
well, sadly for them, all homework nowadays is online.
Well, the
So
dog ate the cable.
the only way is if the dog ate the phone. That's the only way they're gonna
And
get out of it.
and the cable to the internet. Well, yeah, I know they got Wi-Fi, but
Exactly. So a
maybe
little bit
internet.
harder.
Yeah. So
So
it's funny.
I was
No,
actually looking through a brochure from one of these suppliers that I'm supposed to do articles for one of my clients, and I was having a good laugh because, and color schemes and all that kind of thing is your thing, not really my thing. But I could look at this and literally it was like they took every color of the rainbow
yeah.
and chucked it into this brochure. Like every page, it looked like every page had been designed by a different designer. And it ended up being like a 40-page magazine, right? Digital
Oh
magazine.
my God.
But literally every page looked like it had been, there was a Andy Warhol influence on one page, and I was just thinking, wow, how, and I'm not big on that color side. I'm more a words person. But
Yeah.
it's so interesting how often people get that aspect of their brand wrong.
No, absolutely. It's a vital part of your business. It says it's the immediate perception of your personality, your voice, and what you stand for. Having a like a trust fund or something like that, and it's bright red and yellow or something, that might just start ringing alarm bells in your mind, going, they don't seem that professional. Maybe you want a blue because that's more trustworthy. But it's a huge part, and it you really need to think about it to get the right essence of the emotion that you want the customer to feel immediately. And color is a really powerful thing. Even though I'm colorblind, I still can see the color. I might not see it correctly, but I see it, and it gives me an emotion. So even for um, slightly disabled people like myself, uh, it is still very, very important. And I've seen many examples like you were talking about with like a kaleidoscope of colors in in branding or whatever, any kind of material, and it just completely distracts from the
From the
words
message, right?
and the
Because it's
message. Yeah,
distraction is the right word because you're confused. You're confused when you're looking at it, as in exactly what I asked you, right? Like, is this a different designer on every page? Is this a different brand on every page? Like, I didn't even look at the content because I was far too distracted by this basically vomit on a page, right? They just took all they took all the colors and just went, woohoo, let's go for it. Well, someone will like every page. Maybe that was their theory.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, that's just go the same. That's just the same theory as ignoring your target audience and just saying I'm going to sell to everybody, which doesn't work. And it's the same with with the colors. Your audience has a preference to what they want to feel in that moment when they're looking for that particular product or service, and you need to try and understand that and align with it. It's like, for me, one of the best is Virgin. I don't know why I'm thinking of that one, but Virgin is great because I think it has that red color, which means like adventure and boldness and travel,
Yeah.
and that's everything that Virgin do. There, and it's clever because
Excitement.
excitement, and they're not a single service brand. They have holidays, airplane trips, an airline. They have going to space. They've got internet. They got phone. It's all the things that are bold and exciting and innovating.
Yeah.
And their colors, like their color scheme, I think is just red, white, and I think they have like a purple in there or something, if I remember correctly. All of those colors shouting excitement. And that perfectly aligns with everything they do. And if you know anything about Richard Branson, he's all about excitement through being
Experiences.
adventurous and risky, I guess, sometimes, or just trying to put your foot outside of the box a little bit.
Mm. And experiences, right? Experiences are really important to Virgin and really important to Richard Branson. So that comes across in everything they put out, everything they share, all their content with this consistency of color and messaging.
Yeah. And then also, like, when you're thinking about it as well, think about what colors you see in nature or what colors you see in everyday life that represent something. So red, for example, represents a lot of the time like hazard.
Yeah.
So maybe you don't want to use red when you're trying to convey complete trust um and honesty or whatever like that, or colors in like snakes, what colors you see in snakes or wasps, yellow and black. That there's stuff that people subconsciously have in their mind.
But then the shades matter, right? Like the shades
That's
of
true.
yellow versus the shades of red. Some reds are definitely much more danger, stay away, versus, maybe maroons, like deeper reds,
Yeah,
are can be more subtle. So I think there's so much in the color space that you need to think about in terms of not only your color choice, which feels like an easy conversation, but it's not, right? There's the shades, there's the tonalities, and then the whole
yeah,
palette that fits together. As you said, are you going to be a
exactly.
yellow and a black palette, or are you going to be, what is the range of colors that is acceptable within your brand space?
Yeah. So from my, I'd be interested to see what your process would be as well, see if it aligns with me. I'll give you kind of my, just for the top of my head, my process of thinking of choosing a color. I
Mm,
think after having, assuming that we've done all of the work, understanding the brand, looking at all of our values, our brand proposition, our tone of voice, what we stand for,
target audience.
our target audience, of course. Um, I would then like to just highlight what's our archetype. So am I a sage? Am I an advent explorer? What are our values? And what are the emotion? What's our personality? So
Yeah.
if I have those three key areas and some words associated with that, then I'd like to find a core color. So the a core red, core blue, core green, core yellow, not looking at like all of the different shades, but sort of the color down the middle of each of those colors. And I'll start from there and think, have a look at what the psychology is for each of those colors, and see which one aligns most closely to what I'm is coming out in my personality, my archetype, and in my values. And say it's a blue, I'd think, okay, am I more on the am I more am I swaying more to the trust side of blue, or am I swaying more to the playful side of blue? So that would then kind of determine the shade of the blue. And then once I've got that core color, I would then start looking at my secondary colors, which still have a lot to do with psychology and are extremely important. But it becomes more of a complementary.
Yeah. Do they fit together?
Do they fit together? Yeah. But I still think you need, because your personality can span multiple colors, because you can be
Absolutely.
trustworthy, but at the same time you can be adventurous.
Yep.
So I think it's then important to prioritize the emotions that you want to convey. So trustworthy, adventurousness, bold, for example. Say they're my top three. You can then use those to then develop the color palette that fits with your core color.
Absolutely. So that's quite a detailed process. I mean, I must admit, most of the people I've worked with, the way they've chosen a color is, I like
I
it.
like it.
I like it. So that's the one I want.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. We had orange. So for marketing detective agency, or orange tree in our original days, orange was kind of there, but that was out the box thinking, excitement, innovation was kind of our word. So
Creativity.
it
Yeah.
kind of did fit with that. I mean, the one that was never, and I got this the other day. Someone asked me to look, what do I think of their logo? I was asked for an opinion,
Mm.
and it was pink. And I had to be honest, going, if you're asking as a individual preference, like as a consumer, I'm gotta be honest, I hate pink. All pink doesn't matter. Like I've got an aversion for pink. But if you're asking with my marketer hat, right, then I need to ask questions first. Who's your target audience? What is it you want them to feel? All those kind of questions before I answer the question. Um, so yes, so no pink for me. Even if all the psychology in the world said pink was the right color for our brand, it
It
was
just
not
turns
going
you
to
off.
happen.
Well, I think you get some outliers who just have a disdain for something in particular. I don't know, maybe something happened in your childhood, Erica, with pink. And
Yes, my mother made us wear pink dresses until I was 16, and
okay,
then
well,
I
there
was
we go.
allowed to say no. So
There we go. There we go.
no pink.
Yeah. But I think you are right, though. Um, Ultimately, there is going to be a taste bias that comes
Mm,
into it from once you're going through to the stakeholder, the owner, especially if it's a small business, because the owner is so passionate and they're so hands-on with the business, and they're doing everything. If they have an aversion to pink, like you, for example, but all of the research we did says pink, they're not going to be comfortable shouting about their product or service that they love if
mm.
it's covered in pink.
Yeah. And
So
even the other side of the coin, if they come in with a color that they love, right? And we've had this. Our job
mm,
as marketers then, okay, we can present all the facts and figures, but at the end of the day, we can work with their core love and turn it into shades that work, right? So you can still
yeah,
then give them what they wanted, whether it's green or whatever. That's like, oh, I really want a green logo. Okay, but there's shades in there and aspects in there. We can use shadows, we can use complementary colors that then still speak to the target audience and still speak to the emotion we need to create. So it is a designer's game, right?
mm. It is. So are we saying the optimum way is to go through that process, but in reality, there's going to be some resistance from whoever it may be in the chain of the business, and ultimately, if we're going to work hard for that business as the business owner, you need to feel absolutely comfortable with everything that you have, from your messaging to your tone of voice to your colors to your brand to your logo.
And we've seen that. We've seen where we've made recommendations that because they were logical and thought through was accepted in the business, but we could feel
Mm,
there is that it just the buy-in wasn't there. We've been there.
yeah,
And then, you're fighting a losing battle. It's absolutely a losing battle. It's then much better to backstep and go, okay, then what is it that you wanted?
yeah,
And actually question why we didn't find that out in the beginning, right? So that's part of your assessment up front, is to see if there are these biases, preferences already in the mind of your stakeholder before you go down this whole route and give them something they don't want. I mean, it's the same, and I know we're talking color today, but it's the same with shape, design. Are they into words? Are they into graphics? Like, what is it they want from that logo? They'll come in with an idea that all logos have a letter in it, or all logos have a picture, or there'll be some bias that you kind of need to work through with them. And color, I think, because it's so personal, color is a very personal thing, right?
amazing. Yeah,
You need to spend time with your stakeholders, try to figure that out. An easy way is to look at previous businesses they had, because a lot of the businesses we work with are entrepreneurs. They've had businesses before, or whatever. You'll get a feel for what they like. You'll sort
yeah,
of see a pattern. Oh, you had orange in all your previous logos,
yeah,
so I guess that's something you
yeah.
like.
But I think the key is always just is to take those stakeholders or owners through on the journey with you through that process from the beginning,
Yeah,
from your target audience, from the first bit of work that you're doing, so that they understand where you're going. If you do all of this work and then just suddenly show them purple, they might be like, "What?
no,
No," and
exactly.
it's an instant no, and then in their mind, it's just there's the block there. But if you're opening a little door by door by door by door until you reach there, then I think that's also a sensible way to go. Um, it's just again knowing your audience and your in this case of knowing your who
And
you're
your
working.
stakeholders, your audience, right?
Yeah,
It's not
exactly.
it's not to forget that your stakeholder is absolutely your audience.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Awesome. So,
Cool.
what have you seen any brands recently that have done this? I mean, you spoke about Virgin. Any others that have done it like really, really well that you think, that's to who to aspire to?
Well, actually, I went for dinner the other day in a Thai restaurant, and it was a Thai restaurant called Roses. It started in I think in Highbury in London. Now they've got them everywhere. I went to one in Oxford. You see them in pretty much every borough in Oxford. So it's a growing brand. Um, and they've got this beautiful color scheme, which is a red, a purple, and a white.
Are
And
you
it
sure
kind
it's
of,
red, not green? You're colorblind, right?
I mean, it could be yellow. All I know, it could have been a new color that I have not discovered yet. But
Okay, well,
it
we'll
was
go with red.
yeah, it was a beautiful color scheme, and it really, it somehow just took you immediately to that part of the world,
Okay.
um, which makes you suddenly have this sense of authenticity, which um, which is exactly what you want when you're going, particularly in food. You want to feel like the food is from an authentic location. If it's a specific cuisine like Thai or Lebanese or something like that. Um, having a Lebanese restaurant in an American diner just goes,
Yeah.
doesn't fit. And so the branding is absolutely on point. And yeah, I mean that one was great for me. It just felt like an authentic place, which I think is one of the most important things, especially in that particular industry.
Hmm.
What about you? Does anything jump to mind?
Well, talking food, I was actually I had a lovely chat in a cab the other day with a guy from um, from Hungary, and we were talking about. Do you remember that? I don't know if you went with me, but there was the Hungarian restaurant. There was also one in Poland, but it did the foods of the different regions, right? So
That
every
was in
time you
Poland.
went,
That was in Poland, yeah.
but that color scheme was also very authentic. You felt like you belonged, and I get what you're
Mm.
saying, right? Like when it's that kind of physical product, it also makes me think of Apple, right? The color scheme they use and everything through the packaging of the box you receive it in, from what the leaflet looks like on the inside. It's all really thought through, cultivated, that you kind of understand the quality aspect. So their color scheme is used very much about making you understand technology and quality that you're getting, right?
Yeah.
But it's in every touch point, the store, the website, the box your stuff comes in, every touch point is brought together. And that's really good.
Yeah. I agree that their branding is actually just incredible. Um, you feel those values and the personality and expertise at every single moment, even with the product itself,
Yeah.
the branding within the product. It's a it's a very, very highly organized and well-structured branding
Yeah.
system that, yeah, it's very impressive.
So, our top tips for anyone trying to think about a color to use for their brand. What three things can you end with, Alex?
Um, Understand your values, archetype, personality, and link it to the psychological um, feelings that certain colors evoke. Um, that's kind of three in one because you have to look at your values, your personality, and your archetype.
You
But I think
cheated,
that's the most important.
but it's good. And as always, make sure you understand your target audience, right?
Indeed. There's
Uh,
that's we should record that bit, understand your target audience for the outro so that
yeah,
we can just keep it there
just
always.
keep it there. Awesome. Well, great chatting, Alex. And I'll see you
Likewise.
next time.
See you soon. Bye bye. That wraps up this episode of Giraffes Don't Eat Steak. Thanks for joining us. I hope you found value in our discussion and got some new ideas to apply to your own business. Tune in next week for another round of marketing insights and inspiration. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. We appreciate you listening. Catch you next time on Giraffes Don't Eat Steak.